15.
40.
Well, 8 times 5 is 40.
Oh.
8 times 15.
400.
120.
120. And then I need factors of 120 that make,
10 and
I love it, right? They have to make 22. So that should come pretty quickly, 10 and 12. Always try the easiest factorizations first, and if they don't work, oh crap, it's got to be a harder one. But 10 and 12 is the easiest way to factor 120.
Yeah.
And sure enough, if they're both
Minus 20.
negative, they'll make negative 22.
Right. Yeah.
I like it. And so just like we did earlier, and if you have a different way to do this, I love it, unless it's bottoms up. If you don't know what bottoms up is, keep it that way. And I want you to understand, I'm very flexible in, and I don't mean anything outside of mathematics. You might know about it. But I'm talking about, I'm very flexible in the ways that I let you guys do things. But the bottoms up method hides the mathematics.
It sucks.
Well, it's easy. It's too easy. And I understand as a student you want, well, if it's easy, give it to me. But it doesn't show you anything. It doesn't help you figure out why it works. It doesn't help you for later stuff. The more you understand about why things work now, the easier any math you've got to do after this will be. Period. So if you're purely memorizing stuff right now, you're setting yourself up for a major disappointment later if you got to take any more math. And you should have to take more math because this one won't transfer. Yeah, so you got to be understanding why things work the way they do. So now what can I do here? Grouping, because now I have 4 terms.
Yeah.
So
8x squared with 12. With the 12x.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I can do either one. I just put the 10 first, so it still will work. So 2 will come out, 2x. X, yeah, 4x.
Minus
5.
3.
And what kind of 3?
Yeah.
A negative, because I want these signs to
Yeah.
change, right?
Right.
Negative 3, so now this will change to a positive 4x, and this will change to a
Minus.
negative 5. And now these are the same.
Yeah.
I still see people getting this and somehow doing the next step. These are not the same. I can't do the next step. I made a mistake. Oh shit, I should have made that minus. Now they are the same. Cool. The last step.
4x minus 5.
2x
X
minus
minus
3.
3.
Let me ask you real quick. If somebody factored something and they got this as an answer, so they factored, and they got this. And did a whole lot of work until this point, and I still take off some kind of points.
Because the first one is the first take out 4x.
Because the first one still has stuff in it, right?
Right.
2x.
So don't stop until you know for sure that all your pieces have no GCFs, there's no squares in there, no cubes, right? Just take a quick look through your stuff. What that's going to mean is some of you guys got to go too far. You got to do stuff when you can't do anything because you're going to be overly, oh, I'm sure he made it, so I have to go further. You just got to take a second, okay, that's a GCF. That's done. There's GCF in there. So out comes a
2x.
2x.
2x
squared.
squared minus 1.
Minus 1. Yes.
Now that's not a squares, right? You can't break 2 up. So that's done. Now I know I'm done. Okay, so be real careful. I do like to give multiple step problems. You guys saw that on the last test. Where you do one thing but you're not done. You gotta keep going. Okay.
6.5
Oh. Number 12. Oh. Oh, let's see. I may have to go away. Oh, let's see. So this one says state the domain for this. Oh, I love this one, yeah. In a fractional looking thing, what cannot happen?
If the
What can I not let happen in a fraction?
denominator is not 0.
The bottom can't be 0. That's
Yeah.
the only restriction on a fraction. Otherwise, they can be whatever the hell number they want to be. Negative, positive, even, odd. decimal, I don't care, just put them in there. It's just the bottom can't be 0. What is the bottom on this problem always?
45.
Can I control the bottom?
No.
If you can, you're like an evil mastermind. You should be on Austin Powers movie. I can't control that bottom. What do I mean when I say that? I want you to understand, because it's a really cool way to look at this, guys. I have control over the top. Why do I say that?
Because you can make the X.
I can make X whatever I want to be, so I can make the top whatever that I want to be. Right? I have control there. Do I have control here?
No.
No. Whatever I make X, the 45 ain't gonna care. So
I cannot change.
I'm still 45, right? So can I make the bottom 0? Can any X I plug in make the bottom become 0?
No.
Therefore, are there any X's I'm not allowed to use?
No.
No. None of them. 9 makes the top 0. Who cares? What's 0 divided by anything?
0.
0. Except divided by 0. You can't divide by 0, but the bottom can't be 0, can it? So the domain here is all numbers. I can never make the bottom 0. Whereas here's a side note. So this is going to be all real numbers. Whereas just to show you one that you can control, like that one, I can control the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I got to be careful. What can I not let X be?
5.
Beautiful. See, that's easy. The X can't be 5, or else top I get 13. That's great, but then divided by 0. Oh shit. So I cannot let the bottom become 0. Here, I can't make the bottom 0 no matter what I do. So is there any way I can mess up? No. So I can use any number I want to for it. Here, I can't use 5. So you can say all reals
Except.
except 5. If you really want to get to my heart, you can do negative infinity to positive 5. Skip 5 to infinity. But this is fine also. Right? All reals except 5. I love it. It gets right to the idea. Bam. You can use anything you want to except 5.
Now why not 5?
Because when I try to plug a 5 in, what happens?
They can't do it.
I get an undefined thing. It freaks my function out. Cool.
And then your function gets off the board and runs
So
away.
just to look ahead a little bit, if I had a function like this here, what would I not be allowed to plug in there? 0 is fine. Square root of 0 is 0. What can you not take the square root of? Who remembers? It's a little ahead of us in here, but you can't take the square root of a negative number, right? So the inside has got to be bigger than or equal to 0, period, right? I can't put any numbers in there that are less than 0, so what must they be? The opposite, greater than or equal to 0. So when I have a fraction deal, look at the bottom, it can't be 0. What makes it 0? Throw those out. When I have a radical deal, an even radical, by the way, but that's coming later, the inside must be positive or 0. So it all depends on what your function. Where does your function have a possible problem? That's where your domain might change. Because certain x's might cause that problem to happen. Are you guys kind of with me here?
Yeah.
So we have fraction-looking dealies. I know there's variables in the amount, there's still fractions. Can't have a 0 in the bottom of a fraction. That can never be 0. This has a spot. Oh crap, I better throw that out. 5 freaks this dude out. I better not use it. When a function freaks out, that gets messy. Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
51, please. The last one. 51.
In that 6-1?
61 now.
Okay. That's the last one. We'll get into the new stuff.
No, this one is
So what's the top? What kind
1 minus 3a, 1 plus 3a.
There are 2 terms. No GCF. What's the only things it could be then? A cubes or squares. And it's definitely a square, so I can break everybody in half. We'll flip these, right?
Yeah.
So 1 is 1 and 1. 9a squared is 3a and 3a. Put my plus minus. Awesome. What about the bottom here?
Oh, you have to take out.
3a minus 1, 3a minus 1. It's prime.
It's
It's not prime.
there's
You could do 9 times 1 and blah, blah, blah. Do you notice the last one, there's only one way to do it?
3 and 3.
The last one, there's only one way to do it?
1, 1.
1 and 1. Now this could be 9 and 1 or 3 and 3, but which one makes 6?
Yeah.
3 and 3.
Yeah.
380.
And it has to be a to make a squared, right?
Yeah, minus 1.
And they both have to be,
Minus.
so you get 9 and 6a. Or you could do the 9 times 1, and you could break it up into 2 terms in the middle. You could do the whole thing, and it still will come out to here. But I want you to see the generalization I just made. When the first number is a 1, it's easy. When the last number is a 1, it's also easy, because there's only one way to break 1 up. 1 and 1.
Yeah.
Wait, nothing cancels, right? So it's-
No, nothing.
Not something wants to cancel. What wants to cancel, but isn't quite the same?
3a minus 1.
That wants to cancel with what?
Negative.
Those are almost the same. Why are they not the same?
No, mine
The
does.
sign.
Opposite
Change the
sign.
sign.
If I took a negative 1 out of here, what would that become?
3A.
A positive 3a
Yeah.
A minus 1.
minus 1. Isn't that now the same as this on the bottom? So that'll cancel.
If you put minus 1 outside, why you didn't change
No.
the second one?
No. I took a negative 1 out of here.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I took a negative 1. So this times this is this. Do I have to change that at all? Of course not. I'm just changing this one piece. I'm factoring this one piece, took a negative 1 out.
Because it's multiplication, no need to change the second one.
I only have one negative 1. It can't possibly go that far, too. Once it goes in here, it's done. I've only taken this and took a negative 1 out of it. Left everything else alone. So that's perfectly fine, right? I didn't do anything to the top, did I? I rewrote this piece of the top. Right? Took a negative 1 out. So anytime you have, if I had like 6 minus x over x minus 6, those do not cancel because they're not the same. But how do you make them the same?
Negative 1.
Take a negative 1 out. Now the x is positive and the 6 is negative. So the answer is negative 1. And look real quick, if x is 3, what's the top?
3
What's 3 minus 6?
minus 3.
Negative.
So if x is 3, you get 3 over negative 3, that's what?
Minus 1.
Negative 1. So that's what they're saying. No matter what you make x, this will always come out to negative 1. Why? Because these are always going to be the same number at different signs.
So I have a question. How would you finish writing this one?
Well, what's left alive?
Minus
Negative 1.
Okay.
The 1 plus 3a. And one of these 3a minus 1s. Those are all that's left alive, right? So at the end, you want to list the survivors.
We have to write minus 1 or just minus? It's the same.
Oh, yeah, it's the same. So you can have the 1 in there or not. I don't care. Yeah.
Where you have the circled positive number 1, that's prime. If there was another prime number in there, you would do the same thing at the bottom part.
Well, it's the 1. It's the fact that it's a 1. A 1 won't change the 3 to something else, will it? So that meant the 9, it was easy to tell what makes 6, 3 and 3. If there was a 2 there, that 2 is going to mess with one of those. Then I've got to take into account all the possible iterations. Then I would want to break it up into 4 terms. It's because of the 1. Just like when there's a 1 out front, which I don't have an example, but there's not a 1 out front, I've got to make it more disgusting. If there was a 1 out front, it's easier. But in general, if there's a 1 on the front or the end, it should be easy. Then it's just the numbers that make this work that also make this work. If you don't like that generalization, the number out front is not 1. You can multiply 9 times 1 and get 9. What factors make 6? 3. They both have to be negative. You break it up, it will eventually become this. Trust me. Yeah.
Do we have to, when we have something like that, do we have to show our work, or would you already know that we? Like,
On
yeah,
this one would be fine if I saw that's fine.
like the 6 minus x over.
Oh, there.
Do we have
Yeah.
to show that as work, or just we can just put that in?
No, that's fine. I mean, some of you guys might know the rule. If they're just offset by a negative, the answer will be negative 1. Okay. But a problem like this, you might want to show yourself what the hell's going on. There's too much other stuff going on. Yeah.
But the answering book, it's not like you.
Well, that's too bad for them.
That's why I want to.
Which one is this? 51? How these silly people do it. Oh. It's the same thing. So they just put their negative out front. And they put that in order. Still a negative this over that, a negative this over that. The same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Maybe.
Here we go. Now we're getting into some new stuff. So just to remind you guys, 6-2 is not